In 1893, Chicago was still recovering from the 1871 Great Fire, in the midst of a depression and trying to establish itself as a hub of commerce and transportation. In that year, the Chicago Columbian Exposition opened to millions of visitors. It was a highly anticipated event that took years of planning and great efforts to build. The 1893 Chicago World's Fair introduced cutting-edge technology, social and political ideas, and innovations that thrust not only Chicago, but the nation into the new century. These ideas and innovations greatly advanced the quality of life and the economic state of Chicago and the United States. The Columbian Exposition was sold as a celebration of Christopher Columbus's voyage to America, but in reality was a conglomeration of the largest American corporations, business leaders, politicians, and innovators at the time representing the best America had to offer. Prior to the 1890s, Chicago was a fledgling city built on swampy land, surrounded by stockyards, slaughterhouses, a polluted river, and with a relatively high crime and homicide rate. Chicago was in the midst of a Great Depression that had engulfed the whole country, and above all, it had literally risen from the ashes of a massive fire that destroyed a large part of the city just a few years before. Once Chicago had been chosen as the site of the Columbian Exposition, it made sense to make the phoenix the symbol of the world's exposition, symbolizing the rise from the ashes. Politicians and business leaders saw an opportunity to boost the city's image and economy, as well as prove Chicago could be a center of business and manufacturing. The fairgrounds opened on May 1st, 1893 with over 200 buildings built for the exposition on an area covering more than 600 acres. The beautiful alabaster-colored buildings with their intricate and detailed facades were dubbed the White City, and thanks to architects like Daniel Burnham and landscape architects like Frederick Law Olmsted, who envisioned a park that would rival New York's Central Park, the fair's planning and layout would spark the City Beautiful movement that would be the precursor to modern-day city planning. 46 countries were represented along with exhibit halls, rides, and a number of shows. The Chicago Fair was the first to include an amusement ride area separate from exhibits, and it included the debut of the original Ferris wheel built by George Ferris. The Midway was also first introduced as an area of a carnival or fair where sideshows were located. This new way of bringing amusement rides, sideshows, food, and music together as it did changed the way fairs were organized forever. Circuses and events around the country and the world based their presentations on what they had seen at the Chicago Columbian Exposition. There were life-size replicas of Christopher Columbus's 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. The ships were built in Spain and sailed to America for the exposition. There were exhibits for guns and artillery, original locomotives and railway systems, anthropology, horticulture, religion from all over the world, political movements, social causes like sanitation services and education, music, art, and an endless number of consumer products. Some of the food-related products introduced at the fair were shredded wheat cereal, Aunt Jemima syrup, juicy fruit gum, cream of wheat, Pabst beer, and even hamburgers and carbonated soda. The U.S. government issued the first picture postcards, commemorative stamps, and commemorative coins featuring the Columbian Exposition also. The biggest accomplishment of the Columbian Exposition was the introduction of vast technological, scientific, and innovative advancements. First and foremost was the debut of electricity in a large-scale application. The fair would be the first ever all-electric fair in the world. This did not come about without controversy, though. This would be the result of the then dubbed War of the Currents between Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. Tesla was a Serbian-American physicist, inventor, electrical and mechanical engineer, best known for his contributions to the alternating current system of electricity. In 1887, Tesla filed and received patents for a polyphase AC or alternating current electrical system which included motors, transmission lines, generators, and lighting. George Westinghouse came along and bought Tesla's patents and made him part of his company, Westinghouse Corporation. At the time, Thomas Edison, an American inventor and businessman also known for his contributions in electricity, and his company Edison General Electric were pushing a system of DC or direct current electrical system. Each man in his company had a lot at stake, both financially and in reputation, and were determined to prove that their system was the best way for the industrialized world to invest in. Unfortunately for Edison, AC current was able to be transmitted over longer distances using thinner and cheaper wires while stepping down its high voltage at its destination. This made AC current cheaper to install and safer to use than DC current. It expanded service from not only streetlights, but also to small businesses and homes as well. Edison's DC plants were also at a disadvantage because they could not deliver electricity to anyone over a mile from the plant. This left many rural and small cities literally in the dark. Public opinion at the time was not on the side of Westinghouse and AC current though. A number of false representations and accusations, as well as a full propaganda blitz on AC current by Edison himself, created an atmosphere of mistrust and fear in the public's eye. Just as certain as death, Westinghouse will kill a customer within 6 months after he puts in a system of any size, Edison declared. It did not stop there. After a few accidental deaths from falling high voltage lines, the public panicked and turned on the AC electric companies. Edison took advantage of the situation and conducted public electrocution of animals using AC-powered electricity, supported legislation limiting and controlling AC usage, and even went as far as staging the first ever execution using a newly invented electric chair powered by a stolen Westinghouse generator. Despite all the negative press and propaganda aimed at Westinghouse and AC current, Westinghouse won the bid to light the 1893 Chicago Columbian Exposition when it underbid Edison's company by half the amount. This was Westinghouse's chance to prove to the city and the world that AC current was the future of electricity, and it would usher the nation into a new industrialized century powered with AC electricity. This was probably the biggest accomplishment of the Columbian Exposition. It proved to the average man and woman how beneficial and safe electricity could be. It also made electricity available on a larger scale to the common man. With the use of electricity, the fair was also able to showcase an all-electric kitchen, including an automatic dishwasher and refrigerator, incandescent lamps, generators, transformers, motors, including an internal combustion engine that inspired Henry Ford, moving walkways, and the famous electric third rail of the train track. The 1893 Chicago World's Fair may have been sold as a celebration of Christopher Columbus's voyage to America, but it became so much more than that. It became a symbol for American exceptionalism. The fair showcased the best America had to offer and put the country in a league of its own. It thrust a city, a nation, and the world into a new era of technology and commerce. An exchange of ideas, cultures, and traditions blended together to create a uniquely American melting pot. Innovation and the exploration of the unimaginable were brought together to prove to people that better days were not far away, and that technology could thrust all men into a better quality of life and bring the standard of living up to new heights for those who would embrace it. Encountering the unfamiliar at the fair, whether it be religions from far-off countries no one had seen before, or products and ideas that seemed foreign at first, opened the minds of over 27 million Americans to a world of knowledge and hope in a time of uncertainty and fear for the future. The 1893 Chicago Columbian Exposition will forever be the standard Americans will have for what can be accomplished if man sets his sights beyond what he thinks he can do.